There is a choice most people believe they have already made, the choice for heaven. It feels settled, decided, almost automatic. And yet, Saint Thérèse of Lisieux would gently challenge this assumption, because heaven is not chosen once. It is chosen daily, quietly, repeatedly, often at great interior cost. And this is where the hidden danger lives. Let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to desire heaven, and how difficult it is to choose it in small, unnoticed moments? Most people imagine heaven as a future reward, a destination, something God will give at the end of life. But Thérèse understood heaven first as a way of living, a direction of the heart, a series of small interior decisions that shape the soul long before eternity arrives. Choosing heaven daily does not feel dramatic. It feels inconvenient. It interrupts comfort. It challenges habits. It confronts reactions. It exposes attachments. This is why many are unwilling, not because they reject heaven, but because they resist what heaven demands in the present. Saint Thérèse saw that the greatest danger is not open sin. It is quiet compromise, the slow preference for ease over love, the repeated choice of comfort over sacrifice, the habit of protecting oneself instead of offering oneself. Heaven is not only a promise, it is a pattern, and patterns are formed in small hidden places. Choosing heaven daily means choosing patience when irritation feels justified, choosing humility when pride feels safer, choosing forgiveness when resentment feels protective, choosing trust when control feels necessary. These choices feel small, but they are not. They shape the soul. The hidden danger is this: the soul begins to desire heaven without allowing heaven to transform how it lives now. It wants the destination without the daily formation. It wants the promise without the process. Saint Thérèse would say, this is where many grow tired. Daily choices are exhausting because they offer no applause, no recognition, no sense of progress. They require faithfulness without feedback, love without confirmation, sacrifice without visibility. And this is why many stop choosing heaven, not consciously, but practically. They still believe, they still hope, they still pray. But they stop letting heaven interrupt their reactions. They stop letting heaven reshape their preferences. They stop letting heaven challenge their comfort. The soul becomes spiritual in desire, but human in habit. This is the danger Thérèse understood deeply. Heaven is not only entered at death, it is rehearsed in life, and every small choice either opens the heart to heaven's way or slowly closes it. Choosing heaven daily is not romantic. It is costly, because it means allowing love to lead where comfort once ruled, and many quietly are not willing to pay that price. One of the reasons choosing heaven daily is so difficult is because it does not feel spiritual. It feels ordinary. It shows up in tone of voice, in hidden thoughts, in private reactions no one else sees, and because it lacks religious appearance, the soul underestimates its importance. Saint Thérèse understood this danger clearly. She saw that holiness is rarely formed in dramatic moments. It is formed in the way the soul responds to irritation, disappointment, misunderstanding, and fatigue. These moments feel insignificant, but they are where heaven is either chosen or postponed. The heart resists because small sacrifices feel unrewarded. No one notices when you hold your tongue. No one applauds when you forgive quietly. No one celebrates when you choose patience over self-defense. And yet, these are the very choices that align the soul with heaven's way. The resistance comes from a deep human desire to be justified, to be seen as right, to protect dignity, to avoid feeling small. And heaven's way often requires the opposite, being gentle when harshness feels justified, being silent when self-defense feels necessary, being humble when recognition feels deserved. This feels like loss. Saint Thérèse would say, this is where many step back. They do not reject God. They reject inconvenience. They want holiness that fits into life easily. Heaven asks for a life that is reshaped. Choosing heaven daily means letting love interrupt instinct. It means allowing grace to correct reactions. It means placing eternal values above emotional comfort. This is deeply tiring for the natural heart, because the natural heart wants relief. Heaven's way often asks for restraint, because the natural heart wants to be understood. Heaven's way often asks for silence, because the natural heart wants fairness. Heaven's way often asks for mercy. These tensions are not accidental, they are formative. Saint Thérèse believed that every small choice offered with love becomes a seed of eternity, not because it feels spiritual, but because it trains the soul to live heaven's logic now. The hidden danger is not that the soul refuses heaven outright. It is that it delays heaven in practice. It postpones transformation while assuming belief is enough. But heaven is not only believed, it is lived. The soul that consistently chooses comfort over love slowly becomes less sensitive to heaven's way, not because it stops believing, but because it stops responding. This dulling is subtle. The conscience remains, the faith remains, but the willingness fades. And this is why choosing heaven daily is dangerous in a hidden way, because the soul can think it has chosen heaven, while slowly training itself to resist heaven's demands. Saint Thérèse would gently warn, desire alone does not shape the soul. Repeated choices do, and repeated small choices form eternity. Saint Thérèse's little way reveals something deeply challenging. The smallest act, when chosen with love, carries eternal weight. This is not poetic exaggeration, it is spiritual reality. Heaven is not only built by great sacrifices, it is built by countless small yeses that the world never notices. And this is where many become unwilling, because small acts do not feel heroic. They feel tedious, they feel repetitive, they feel invisible. The little way does not flatter the ego. It does not give the soul dramatic moments to prove holiness. Instead, it asks the soul to pour love into what feels insignificant. Choosing heaven daily in this way means choosing love when no one is watching. It means responding kindly when irritation feels natural. It means offering patience when exhaustion feels justified. It means choosing humility when pride feels protective. These choices do not feel spiritual. They feel inconvenient. The heart resists because it wants meaning that can be felt. It wants effort that can be measured. It wants sacrifice that can be recognized. But heaven's logic is different. Saint Thérèse believed that God measures love, not scale. The size of the act does not matter. The depth of love does. This makes choosing heaven daily dangerous in a hidden way, because the soul can grow bored with smallness. It can begin to crave visible progress. It can begin to look down on ordinary fidelity as insufficient. This is when many quietly disengage. They still believe, they still practice, but they stop investing love into small things. They perform duties, they follow routines, but the heart becomes less involved. This is not rebellion, it is fatigue. Fatigue with smallness, fatigue with repetition, fatigue with faithfulness that feels unrewarded. Saint Thérèse would recognize this immediately. She would say, this is the moment when the soul must decide whether it wants heaven as a feeling or heaven as a formation. Heaven as a feeling comes and goes. Heaven as a formation shapes the soul. The little way teaches that love poured into small acts trains the soul to live heaven's rhythm now. It teaches the soul to give without needing to be seen, to love without needing to be praised, to remain faithful without needing to feel successful. This is deeply counterintuitive, and it is why many are unwilling, not because heaven is unattractive, but because heaven's way feels too small. Yet it is precisely in smallness that the soul becomes capable of eternity. One of the deepest reasons people resist choosing heaven daily is not disbelief. It is attachment to comfort, to being understood, to having things go their way, to protecting emotional peace at all costs. Saint Thérèse saw this clearly. The heart often says it wants heaven, but it also wants to remain undisturbed. It wants holiness that does not interfere with preferences. It wants love that does not demand surrender. And this is where the hidden conflict begins. Heaven's way does not ask only for belief. It asks for detachment. Detachment is not coldness. It is freedom. But freedom feels threatening when the soul is used to holding tightly to how things should be. Choosing heaven daily means loosening the grip on small securities, the need to be right, the need to be appreciated, the need to be in control, the need to avoid discomfort. These are not great sins, they are small attachments, and yet small attachments quietly shape the soul. Saint Thérèse understood that heaven is incompatible with a heart that refuses to let go. Not because God is demanding, but because love cannot grow where the heart is clenched. Many resist not because they reject sacrifice, but because they underestimate how deeply attached they are to comfort. They want heaven later. They want ease now. They want eternal joy. They want immediate relief. And when these two conflict, the soul often chooses relief. This is the hidden danger. The soul does not say, "I reject heaven." It says, "Not right now. Not right now when forgiveness feels too costly. Not right now when humility feels too painful. Not right now when patience feels too exhausting. Not right now when surrender feels too uncertain." And over time, not right now becomes a habit. Saint Thérèse would say that heaven is delayed not by great refusals, but by repeated small postponements. Postponement dulls the soul's sensitivity to grace. It trains the heart to prioritize comfort over love. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, heaven becomes more of an idea than a direction. The heart still believes, but it no longer moves. Choosing heaven daily means choosing love when it costs, choosing trust when it unsettles, choosing detachment when attachment feels safer. This is why many are unwilling, not because heaven is too demanding, but because heaven interferes with what the soul has learned to rely on. Saint Thérèse would gently warn, the soul that clings tightly to small comforts will struggle to receive great joy, because heaven requires open hands, and open hands feel unsafe, until the soul learns that they are the only way to be filled. There comes a quiet moment in the spiritual life when the soul realizes something unsettling. Choosing heaven daily means not choosing itself in certain moments, not self-hatred, not denial of dignity, but the surrender of self-centered instinct. This is where resistance becomes most personal. The heart wants to be understood. Heaven often asks the soul to remain misunderstood. The heart wants to defend itself. Heaven often asks the soul to entrust itself. The heart wants emotional safety. Heaven often asks the soul to risk love. Saint Thérèse understood that the deepest battle is not between good and evil in dramatic form. It is between self-protection and self-gift, and self-gift feels dangerous, because it requires trusting that love will not destroy you, that surrender will not erase you, that choosing heaven over comfort will not leave you empty. Yet this is exactly where heaven begins. The soul that chooses heaven daily learns to die in small ways, to die to the need to be right, to die to the need to be praised, to die to the need to control outcomes, to die to the need to protect ego. These deaths are not violent, they are quiet, and quiet deaths are the hardest because they offer no dramatic meaning, no visible proof, no emotional release, only the interior knowledge that love was chosen over instinct. Saint Thérèse would say this is where the soul either matures or retreats. Many retreat here, not outwardly, inwardly. They keep practicing, they keep believing, but they stop choosing love when it costs something personal. They protect a small corner of self, a small right, a small comfort, a small attachment. And that small corner slowly becomes a boundary heaven cannot cross. Not because God is excluded, but because the soul is closed. Choosing heaven daily means choosing openness, even when it feels unsafe. It means allowing love to touch areas the soul has learned to defend. This is terrifying for the natural heart, but it is freeing for the surrendered heart. Saint Thérèse teaches that heaven is not only a future home, it is a way of existing now, a way of loving that does not cling, a way of trusting that does not calculate, a way of giving that does not negotiate. The hidden danger is not that heaven is rejected, it is that self is preserved, and self-preserved becomes love limited. The soul that learns to choose heaven over self-protection begins to live differently. Reactions soften, defensiveness weakens, the need to be seen diminishes. Love becomes simpler, not easier, but simpler, and simplicity is the doorway to heaven. If you desire heaven, then the question is not whether you believe in it. The deeper question is whether you are willing to let heaven shape how you live now. Saint Thérèse would gently say that heaven is not only a reward, it is a rhythm of love, surrender, detachment, and trust that the soul is invited to practice daily. The hidden danger is not that you will openly reject heaven. It is that you will quietly choose comfort instead of love, protection instead of surrender, self instead of gift. Most people do not say no to heaven. They say later. Later when it is easier to forgive. Later when it is less costly to be humble. Later when trust feels safer. Later when surrender feels less threatening. But heaven is always now, not in fullness, but in direction. Every small choice trains the soul toward one of two rhythms, the rhythm of self or the rhythm of love. Saint Thérèse believed that souls become capable of heaven by practicing heaven, by loving in small hidden ways, by choosing patience over irritation, by choosing mercy over resentment, by choosing humility over pride, by choosing trust over control. These choices will never feel grand. They will feel ordinary, and this is why many are unwilling, not because heaven is unattractive, but because heaven asks for small daily deaths to self that go unnoticed. Yet it is precisely these unnoticed deaths that give birth to eternal life. If you feel resistance in yourself, do not condemn it. Let it teach you where heaven is asking to enter, not to shame you, but to free you. Saint Thérèse would not tell you to do more. She would invite you to love more simply, to surrender more quietly, to trust more deeply, to choose heaven not in great declarations, but in small decisions. Because heaven is not chosen once, it is chosen again and again, and every small yes shapes eternity.